Hi everyone, Amy here with Amy's Wares, and today I have a card that I made for a Craft Roulette submission. So stick around, I'll explain to you how this video is a little bit different in that way. So to start, I'm going to show you some of the products that I used to make this card. I have two new to me rather, nested die sets. I have a hexagon and this cool arch shape from scrapbook.com, and I have a whole smattering of stencils here. I wasn't entirely sure which ones I was going to use and which ones I wasn't, so I busted out all my graduation themed stencils, and these are all from a Colorful Life Designs. And you will see I will use another stencil a little bit later on, and that is also from a Colorful Life Designs. So if you shop, be sure to use my coupon AmyFan10 at checkout and you'll save 10% on your complete order. So I have a few 3x6s here. I have Graduate Girl, Graduate Boy, I believe is what they're called. I will link all of the stencil names in the video description box below, as well as all the other products that I used. So if you're interested in any of these, be sure to expand under the video and scroll down, and you'll find all of those details, as well as my coupon if you forget. So I'm just showing you, like I said, all the graduation ones I have, but I did just end up using a few of them seen here. So I'm going to set these aside and bust out some inks. Now, rose petals, sugared lavender, and polished are the three colors that I'm going to use. These are mini ink pads from Catherine Pooler. Now, to explain this to you, if you aren't familiar, Craft Roulette is it's a YouTube channel, and it's a challenge every Friday night. The parameters of the challenge. You have the project, which is 3 tags, the element, which is May, the colors, which is Rose Garden, and then masking. Now, here is my answer to this challenge. I have some photos of the finished card to show you the direction that we're going. But if you aren't familiar, it's a really fun, it's almost like a game show, or it is a game show rather, for crafters. And this particular episode that I'm doing the challenge for, was just aired recently, and the guest, Cathy Zielske. So you probably know who she is. If you don't, be sure to look her up because she is fabulous. So I was checking out that show, in part because the show is awesome and I love Cathy Zielske, but also because I actually have been asked to be on the show. So that will probably be sometime in September. I don't have the details yet, but as soon as I have a date and that information, I will be sure to share it with all of you. So in the meantime, if you're just curious when I'm going to release new videos or when I'm going to be involved in things, then the best way to be in the know, if you will, is to hit the subscribe and the notification bell. But like I said, I will be very excited and nervous, but mostly excited to be on that show in September. So I just wanted to contribute. I haven't actually contributed a card to any of the challenges yet, so this one I thought was just right up my alley and fun. Now you can see here I'm basically creating my own tags. So one of the elements is, 3 tags, and I don't really have many tag dies. I think I have one little random one, but I thought, hey, I just got all these nesting dies, I'm just going to turn those into tags. So I cut 3 of the shapes out, as you saw, and then I just used a regular hole punch just to put a hole in them. And now I'm kind of just messing with my different stencils to figure out how I want to adorn them. I didn't end up using that final one there of all the graduate heads. I did end up going a different direction, but this is kind of my process. I don't really plan anything. I just kind of wing it and decide as I go. So I may have a general idea, and then I let the rest just kind of happen organically. So here you can see I have one of the colors, and I'm going to do some simple ink blending here right on this tag that I've created. So I have the boy graduate or graduate boy, whatever it's called, and I'm coming in with this, I believe it was polish, the more red color, and then I decide to go over it and darken it up a little bit with this purplish color just to kind of give it some interest and go from there. So here I'm just gonna close this up and pull it back and clean up my workstation and realize, oopsie poopsies, I kind of went a little outside the line. So anyway, I'm just gonna flip it over and try it again. So that's the beauty of making mistakes. It's just paper. It's not a big deal. You can just keep going and make it work. So this one didn't get quite the nice deep purple color to it when I redid it, but it ended up fine. I just didn't want to accidentally, ink blend too hard and go underneath the stencil. Now, for this one, I'm going to use Pixie Spray. So this is a temporary adhesive, and I'm just kind of putting that down, pushing it. I actually brayered it right into this tag. And here is the masking element. So this is another one of the 4 elements is masking. So you could argue and say that a stencil in general is masking, but this is really masking because I'm using the inner portion and ink blending around it. So on this one, I actually was going to use the inner portion of that stencil, but I decided to cut it out again because it didn't work so great, and then just use the regular part of the stencil and just ink blend on the inside open part. So here again, I'm coming in with the 3rd color and just ink blending on this little graduate hat. Now I realized that the graduate boy and this cap do look pretty similar, but I was actually utilizing all 3 of the colors. And that the colors is very much rose-like, rose garden. So that's another component right there. And now I'm just basically going to flip through to find a sentiment to finish my card. And I actually know right what I'm going for. So this particular challenge, like I said, was the fabulous Cathy Zielske, and I love her products. I love her graphic style and her design, and I'm actually going to use one of her dies right here. So this layered grad die is actually a CZ design. You can get it from Simon Says Stamp, and I will link that in the video description box below. But I knew it was the perfect complement to give her props since it was her challenge, and then also just to kind of tie in the design. So I have all these little pieces, parts, and I'm just kind of trying to figure out the layout, how I want to fit them onto the card, and what direction I want to go. Now at this point I decided the background was far too stark, so I wanted to bring in more color, and I'm using this simple grid 6x6 stencil from A Colorful Life Designs. Just going to mask off these little corners where there's no stencil because I don't want ink to go there. And now I'm just using residual ink. So I have my purple blending brush, my pink blending brush, and my red blending brush that I just used to do the graduate stenciling, and I'm just laying down some of that residual ink all down the front of this actual card base. So this is a card base of Accent Opaque. It's 120 pound. It's A2 size, or US A2 size rather, which is 4¼ inches by 5½. I'm just toning down the white by doing some ink blending over top of it just to kind of chill it out a little bit. Now I will eventually attach those 2 grad pieces together, but again, I'm still just kind of moving things around and figuring out what direction I want to go. Now at this point I realize I don't really love this. I feel like it needs more black. So I bring in this twine here first of all with some black and white to tie in a little bit more black, but as you saw in the finished photos, it wasn't quite enough to make those images and those tags really pop off the background. So you'll see in a moment what I decide to do to remedy that situation. But I'm just looping these little pieces of twine through on the tags, and then I will move on to the next step. Now I'm going to attach these 2 pieces, these 2 grad die cuts together with some micro dots. These Artist Tack micro dots, I get these from Amazon, I'll link them below, but I love these for little fiddly, delicate die cuts and things like that because I'm not a huge fan of liquid glue. I'll use it when it's kind of like a nice, I don't know, big chunk of paper or something like that, but these little fiddly things, I'm always getting the oozage and I can't stand it. It's not my favorite. So here is my solution. I ended up die cutting the same black cardstock that I have to back the grad die cut. I just cut 3 more of the little hexagons that are the same shape as the tag just to really break up that background. I wanted to add some more black, help those little tags pop off the composition, and just kind of separate it a little bit from that somewhat busy background that I created. So again, I'm just fiddling around, figuring out where I want it to go, and I will use some liquid glue here just to kind of put down the pieces. Now, all the black hexagons I did liquid glue down, and I did also liquid glue down that hat as well because I knew I was going to pop up the grad sentiment. For some reason, this footage got cut. I apologize, but I do end up using some 1-inch foam tape to pop up those other 2 tags just to give it some interest and dimension on the front of the card. So I apologize that did get cut out, but I did use 1-inch foam tape from scrapbook.com to pop those up. So you can see it there right off to the lower right. Now that graduate hat is nice and flat, flush to the card, and then I will pop up this grad on top of it with these little thin foam strips that I get from Amazon. And again, I'll link those just like everything else below in the video description box. So this is a little bit fiddly, but I felt like it was worth it because I wanted the sentiment to pop up off the card, kind of like the 2 tags did in the top portion of the card. So I'm just going to kind of fill in the little pieces just to give it some support through the little letters, and then I will pull off the backing and then put that in the lower right part of the composition. So again, a little bit fiddly for my taste, but it was worth it in this case, just to really pop it up and kind of give it some dimension all throughout the front of the card. So I'm going to press this down, and then I will trim off the excess off screen so that it is, proper A2 size. And I do also trim down those little pieces of twine just a tad as well. Now I decide I want to continue the design onto the inside of the card, and a really easy, quick way to do it is just to bust out your stencils and use, again, that residual ink on your blending brush. I next to never clean my brushes because I know eventually I'll come back for that ink at some point, and it's really nice and subtle for the inside of a card just to kind of use it in that way. And now I have some resin droplets. These are some of my favorite blingage. They look like water droplets, so super fun. I'm going to put those down in odd numbers, so 3 towards the top and kind of 2 in the middle bottom-ish area, and then that's basically going to finish the design. So if you haven't heard of Craft Roulette, be sure to check them out. They have their own YouTube channel, their own Facebook page, their website. They're the real deal. So really fun. They're always aired on Friday nights. There's tons of really fun guests, and it's just a really cool challenge. They spin a wheel, and then they have to create under those 4 parameters, and it's really fun, and I'm excited to be on the show in the fall. So here I just popped a little sentiment on the inside. I actually used the same size sentiment strip in black just to kind of give it a little bit more interest, and I liquid glued that on the inside of the card, and that's going to finish the design. That's it. So thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing, and I will check you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.